We have some very strong opinions and ideas, and I think we'll probably state those opinions now.
Really quick, I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to play a quick housing clip from Pierre Poilievre, and then I'm going to show the Liberals' housing plan, and we can have just like a really quick conversation about that. My mic again.
Will be, again, to axe the sales tax on new homes, incentivize municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development costs, train up 350,000 young people who can be in the trades to build those homes, and sell off the land that is going to be needed in order to build homes. That is a real plan for you to own a home and afford your life for a change. Mr.
Okay. So for those wondering, the reason why I wanted to play the Poilievre clip was because the Conservatives still haven't released their platform. However, this weekend, the Liberals did. So in contrast, the Liberals, and nothing here has really changed from what Mark Carney has been saying. So they want to build more houses, which is similar to the Conservatives. They have said that they want to provide $10 billion in low-cost financing and capital for home builders so that they can do specifically affordable homes. $25 billion in financing to innovate home builders in Canada, including those using Canadian technologies and resources like timber and softwood lumber. This is because Carney's logic is, since we're not going to be selling this stuff to the US, we can utilize it here at home. Cutting red tape. This is really interesting because, as you can see, it actually says cutting red tape. That is a conservative talking point. I just want to like point that out because I just think it's super interesting. And as I've stated in the past, like, we really are picking between a progressive conservative and a traditional conservative. So anyway, Mark Carney wants to cut the red tape, cutting municipal development charges in half, which are charges that there's like federal government stuff mixed in there. He wants to reintroduce a tax incentive. Now, this is the one from the 70s. And this is specifically for rental housing, which is interesting because you and I talked last week about how nobody has really said anything about the rental market. Mm-hmm. And this tax incentive, which would be a credit to homeowners who are renting out housing units. Mm-hmm. So that's quite interesting. Oh, and then he wants to work with provinces on reducing zoning restrictions. And he's also keeping the first-time home buyers, cutting the GST. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of their two plans. Mm-hmm. Thoughts? I'll let you go first because I always talk a lot, I feel like.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Fair enough. No, Nick, you're fine. It's just, yeah, that's totally true.
No comment there. I'll leave the experts to decide whether Nick talks a lot. I'm not here to debate whether you talk a lot, but anyway, back on topic. Yeah, it's nice to see both the NDP and Liberals release their platforms and their policy ideas and stuff like that. The Conservatives are still yet to present those policy ideas and those platforms, which is another problem. In terms of the stuff, there's some stuff that actually look eerily similar to what a Conservative government would do, and it seems like they're taking policy ideas and platform ideas from each other and stealing them and, I guess, repurposing them into their own party platforms. Like you said, it looks like a progressive Conservative government and a Conservative government that they're proposing against. Like we mentioned before in lots of other episodes, that Mark Carney is a red Tory, as it appears to be. And so I'm not surprised by a lot of those things, but at the same time, you see the deficits they're running. They're running some huge deficits. They're spending big chunks of money, both the NDP and Liberals. It'd be interesting to see what the what the conservatives do and how they tend to rein in spending, because they always seem to say cut, 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 which is what their mentality is, right? So it'd be interesting to see how they approach that. And like I said, there's lots of good stuff in there. Like there's lots of things that could help for sure, different people. But at the same time, it doesn't give the detail that a lot of people want. These are good fluffy points, right? At the same time, a lot of them, right? Yes, there's some
and just the
details.
logistics of how that stuff's going to work, right?
Exactly.
If we look at Pierre Poilievre, he wants to sell off 15% of federal buildings to turn into affordable housing, but he doesn't say like what that looks like. Are there going to be any constraints on the developers you're selling this for, selling this property to make affordable housing? Or are we going to end up where like in a situation where the government didn't actually think about this and just trusted business to do their trickle down crap? And so they sell off these 15% of buildings without a stipulation in the contract saying you need to do X, Y, Z. And then the developers develop it and then still charge an astronomical amount of rent, right? Like there's so many problems.
Yeah,
And it
that's
would
the
be nice
problem.
to
Like
see
the
some
conservatives tend to
plan.
do that. That's the thing. The conservatives always plan to have business try and solve the problem, which
Yeah.
we know doesn't always work, unfortunately. We know what businesses would do if they're given the option. They'll make money, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I know people are saddened to hear that, but that's the reality of business 101. That's what you learn in business school. And I'm sure other business people who are involved in business know that. Like if you don't make money, then why are you in business? I know a few people have mentioned to me when they run their own business, they always said to me, we're not a charity.
Yeah.
We're here to make money. And so
Yeah.
to have businesses decide doesn't always work. Do
No,
some
there
businesses
needs
care?
to be something in the contracts.
Does some businesses care and some owners care? Yeah, some do. Like, and there's lots of them, as you know, across the world and of course in Canada. But
they're the exception. They're not the rule.
Exactly. And that's what people have to realize, that if business are allowed to do that, they're not going to do it unless they get punished or unless they get hold or unless it's in their contract. They're not going to.
Yeah.
They're not going to do anything.
They follow the rules. It's kind of like looking at Mark Carney, for example. People are still going after him about his assets because he's a billionaire. And his response keeps being, I followed the rules and I did it earlier. And that's kind of the only thing you're getting out of him. And that is like a total throwback to him as a businessman. He's like, I followed the rules to the T. That's what I'm going to do. Kindly fuck off. Like,
and honestly, if we were in those situations, would we be doing exactly the same thing? You tell me.
Probably.
So like you cannot
keep
say
your nose out of my finances.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone would be doing the same thing, right? So if you were earning lots of money like Mark Carney and you were the chair of the Brookfield company, would you not want your company to earn money?
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't be
he
in
had
a
job to do.
Yeah. And
he was hired because he's good at that.
Yeah, and he's smart.
Okay, and I guess this is the other side. If he was like, and we see this with we already know the answer because of how Poilievre is attacking him on his Bank of Governors stuff. If he was the chair of Brookfield and did a shit job, Poilievre would be like, you did a shit job and they didn't make any money. Like, there's no winning there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think people don't have to not forget those things because that's so important. And people forget that, right? And I know people are saddened by the fact business want to earn money, but that's just 101 business, like I said. And so people have to realize that Mark Carney and business would do what they need to do, and any business would do what they need to do, right? But you can't have let business decide because sometimes they'll actually not do it at all if you're not giving rules and regulations to do. But yes, don't give all the regulation, don't give all the rules. But if you are struggling and in trouble, why wouldn't you want to have business support you or even people support you? You tell me, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, any last minute bottom lines for you for housing?
No, just read past what's being said on TV and heard, right? And read beyond the numbers. That's for sure.
Yeah, read. Well, or find the right numbers. Like, don't trust the numbers they're giving. Yeah, research it, guys. There's lots there. Okay.